let's talk about a problem that keeps a lot of CTOs and architects up at night. I'm talking about that tangled web of legacy code that runs our most critical business systems. It's kind of like a ticking time bomb of hidden risks and missed opportunities. But what if AI could actually help us diffuse it? Well, let's find out.
I mean, really think about that for a second. Deep inside your most important systems, you've got decades of priceless business knowledge baked right in. But what happens when nobody, and I mean nobody, fully understands how it all works anymore? It's a huge, huge risk. And that's exactly the problem we're going to unpack today.
For the people on the ground, the enterprise architects, the senior developers, the CTOs, navigating these old systems can feel like being totally lost in a maze. Every path is foggy, the map you have is hopelessly out of date, and a wrong turn, well, the cost is enormous. We're talking major project delays, budgets getting blown to pieces, and sometimes even system-wide failures. And these problems, they don't just exist on their own. They feed into each other, creating this vicious cycle. You get these black box systems precisely because the documentation is ancient. Then, when a key person leaves, all that knowledge just walks out the door. And pretty soon, you've got siloed, redundant systems everywhere because no one can see the big picture. It's a perfect recipe for stagnation, and it just grinds innovation to a halt. This right here, this phrase just nails the feeling perfectly. It stops being engineering, and it becomes, well, archaeology. You've got brilliant teams spending weeks, sometimes months, just digging through layers of ancient code to answer what should be a simple question. It is slow, it is painful, and you better believe it is incredibly expensive.
So if you're trapped in that maze, how do you get out? Well, you need a guide, right? Someone who has a perfect, up-to-the-minute map. And that, right there, is where AI comes into the picture. So let's talk about Gitme.ai.
So what is it really? Put simply, Gitme.ai is an AI-driven platform that reads your code, and I mean all of it, and then builds a living, breathing map of your entire system. The whole point is to take that confusing, scary black box and turn it into a crystal clear, transparent architecture that you can finally manage and, more importantly, innovate.
Okay, so how does it actually pull this off? It's not just magic, right? Well, it really all comes down to three core capabilities that work together to create that living blueprint of your systems. Let's break them down.
First up, and this one is a real game changer, is automatic capability discovery. See, instead of relying on what some document says the code is supposed to do, the AI analyzes the code itself, the versions, the comments, everything. It finds the real business logic, like a complex trading rule, and maps out exactly how it connects to everything else. This is the feature that replaces all that manual archaeology we were talking about. And that leads perfectly to the second key feature, living documentation. The map that the AI creates is never out of date. Think about that for a second. When a developer pushes a new change, the architecture view updates automatically, instantly. This means for maybe the first time ever, you have a single source of truth that you can actually genuinely trust. And finally, there's system profiling. I love this analogy. Think of it like a digital business card for every single piece of your system. You can see at a glance how often it's touched, how much technical debt it's carrying, and how critical it really is to the business. This is what leaders finally separate the valuable agile assets from those risky legacy burdens. Okay, so having a map is one thing, but using it to get instant answers, that's where the real magic happens. This is how the day-to-day work for architects and developers just gets completely transformed. All right, imagine an architect needs to answer this question. Normally, this would kick off a whole chain reaction of meetings, emails, and days of just digging through code. But when you have a complete knowledge graph of your entire codebase, you can just ask. And boom, you get an answer like this, instantly. And notice, it's not just a file name, it's a rich, context-aware answer. It tells you the module, the language, the trigger, even special business rules and what it's going to affect downstream. You're literally shortening that loop from question to answer, from days down to seconds. So what about making changes? That's always the scariest part, right? Well, that's where ripple analysis comes in. It lets you simulate a proposed change and see exactly what the ripple effect will be across the entire system. It shows you every single business process, every API, every database table that could possibly be impacted. This is absolutely crucial for de-risking any modernization effort.
Now, this all sounds fantastic in theory, but I know what you're wondering. What about the actual results? What does this look like in the real world? Well, the numbers on the impact are pretty staggering.
I mean, just look at this transformation. Onboarding a new architect, which used to take months, is now down to just a couple of weeks. In today's competitive market for tech talent, that's a massive advantage. Document accuracy goes from a coin flip, less than 50%, to over 99%. And that impact analysis, it goes from a 2-week-long slog to just 10 minutes.
This right here really drives the point home. What used to be an 80-hour, 2 full-week ordeal of meetings and investigations is now a 10-minute query. The scale of this efficiency gain is it's incredible. It completely changes the entire economic model of software development and modernization. And let's just pause on this number for a moment. Over 99% in sync. What that really means is the gap between your architectural diagrams and the reality of your code has been virtually eliminated. That creates a level of trust and reliability that, let's be honest, most large organizations can only dream about. So what does this all add up to? When you put it all together, it's about a fundamental shift in perspective. It's about completely changing how you view your most critical and often most difficult enterprise systems.
I absolutely love this final metaphor. It's not just a diagramming tool or a code scanner, it's the digital mover of enterprise knowledge. It's all about unlocking the incredible value that's been trapped inside your code for years and making it accessible and useful for the entire organization. Ultimately, this helps you flip the script. Your opaque black box becomes a transparent architecture. Those high-risk, scary changes become predictable evolutions. And that slow, siloed development process, it transforms into accelerated development, all powered by a new, centralized intelligence. You're turning an IT debt into a true agile asset. And that leaves us with one final and I think really provocative question. Every single line of legacy code sitting in your organization represents a business decision, a piece of hard-won institutional knowledge. So the question is no longer whether you can afford to modernize it. The real question is, what incredible hidden assets are you leaving locked away in your code right now?